Well, let's get the latest pulse on the economy. A brand new inflation report dropped just this morning. And according to the Labor Department, the consumer price index rose 0.1% in November from the previous month.
The CPI measures the price of everyday goods like gasoline, groceries, and rent. That number was just slightly higher than expected. Prices also climbed 3.1% from the same time last year, which was in line with the estimates. We have NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Cheung with us now. Brian, good to see you. So what do these new numbers tell us about the economy right now?
Yeah, well, it tells us that the pace of price increases is cooling. Although prices are still going up, they're just going up at a slower pace now. So let's take a look at the figures that we were mentioning here. Again, 3.1%. That's measuring how much more expensive things are in November of this year compared to November of last year. That's a slowdown from the 3.2% figure we saw in the October to October period. Now, where are we seeing price changes over the many things that Americans spend on a daily basis? Well, food prices. These are monthly changes, increasing by 0.2% between October and November. That's a slowdown from the 0.3% we saw in the September to October period. Energy prices, this is good news, coming down as well because of gasoline prices declining, down 2.3%, very much in line with what we saw in the October report. But this is the one that most Americans are going to be feeling. Shelter, the cost of mortgages and rent, that actually accelerated between October and November, 0.3% in the prior report, 0.4% in this report. And for what it's worth, it's lower than the 0.6%, 0.7% we had seen in prior months. But again, economists really want to see that come down in the future.
Yeah, Brian, you mentioned food, energy, shelter. What about goods? What does this mean for everybody as they're trying to sort of finish up their holiday shopping?
Yeah, well, we saw clothing go down across the board. Men's pants, for some reason, decelerated in terms of prices. But I want to show you the categories that people will likely be spending on in terms of the holiday spend, specifically with food, because that's the big expenditure for most Americans. Egg prices, check this down, over $1 cheaper than this time last year. There was a real explosion, pardon the pun there, in prices last year. Gasoline prices, again, as I mentioned, down. Milk is down, but bread prices, they are up. So again, some things are getting more expensive, something to definitely keep in mind as you're kind of putting together those holiday meals.
I remember how expensive those egg prices were last year, right in the baking season.
Crazy.
Hey, Brad, the Federal Reserve, they're meeting again tomorrow. Will we see another interest rate hike? What have they been signaling?
Well, the expectation on Wall Street is that they won't raise interest rates at the conclusion of their meeting tomorrow. Again, they've been ratcheting borrowing costs so high to deliberately take inflation down. And they're looking specifically at that headline number and saying, okay, look, 3.1%, that's certainly good news. But we have to remember the Fed's target. They want to see that number closer to 2%. So not yet mission accomplished. That's the reason why they're likely going to hold interest rates high, which translation for everyday Americans, your mortgage rates, your car rates, your credit card rates are going to remain elevated. They're not going to decline substantially anytime soon.
All right. NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Cheung. Brian, thanks.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.